What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shape Success. It looks like that intro is a little lagging, and I don't know if this will be lagging as well. So we'll see what happens. What's going on, Nikki? Over in TikTok Landia, Restream is being slow. So I don't know what's going to happen here. We'll see. We might have to fire this up again. If you're joining us on YouTube, let me know what the stream looks like because it says it's fair over there, so maybe it's caught up. So, morning coffee. Took a little breather this weekend and took a little well-needed rest for myself. Took some time off, and Nikki is over here. Cool. So let me know what the stream looks like because I think that it's being a little goofy. Appreciate you hanging out on both platforms, but it might be catching up. I don't know. We'll see. I see you. I can see you. I don't know if you guys know this, so it's a little delayed between Restream because when you're watching it on YouTube, this platform that I use is called Ecamm, and it actually streams it through another program that streams it to YouTube, so it's a little bit on a delay. So I can see like I'm watching over here. I can see on my Restream stream, and I can also see right in front of me what's going on, and it's a little bit slower than what I'm looking for or what I'm doing. So it's a little behind. If you're joining me over on TikTok, thanks for hanging out for this morning coffee, Shaping Success morning coffee. I'm kind of like trying to decide what to do. Going back and forth because today I should release a regular episode of Shaping Success. I didn't record one, but I've been doing this, so I kind of feel like I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore. It's still going to be Shaping Success. It's still going to be whatever it is, but if I have an interview, I might release that on a separate day as something completely separate. But I think this might be the platform, the format, the way that this thing is going to start going, at least until I move again, because when I move again, it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. And I could still do it. It just wouldn't be as clean. It won't be as, I got to set up a studio again. I got to get everything going. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But thanks for hanging out. If you want to get into this conversation, like I was saying, what's up, Robert? How you doing? You can head over to YouTube. There is a chat in there and, or wherever you're watching. It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube. I'd like to get it on YouTube because that's where I would like to have my people congregate when we do these things. But I'm going to keep doing this every morning at 5 o'clock a.m. my time, which is Mountain Time, 6 Central, 7 Eastern. I go backwards because now we're going like it's 4 Pacific, so we probably don't have a lot of people who get up that early in the morning on the Pacific, on the West Coast, where I'm somewhat situated, but not really. Like, I mean, we got Oregon to the side of us, a little bit of California on the bottom, Utah. So we're kind of like, Idaho's kind of a little landlocked in the mountain time situation. So what I want to talk about, a lot of you people who have followed me, thanks for the roses and the fire, Robert, over there on TikTok, who follow me, know that I kind of get up at 4:15 in the morning, give myself kind of 45 minutes, make that coffee, have a few cups of it, and then I finish my coffee on here. That's what I've been doing. Thus, morning coffee. But what I was thinking about this morning, my friend Lindsay, I think it's Lovin' Life Out Loud 3, over on TikTok, was talking about self-comparison, and I started thinking about that and how it relates to me and my life and the way that I do things. And it's something that I've tried to stop doing. I tried to stop comparing myself to others because my situation, myself, my thought process, and the things that I do are a lot different than what other people do. Now, does that mean that it's not helpful? Does that mean that I can't help other people understand the way that I think? Because there are some people who think like me. But there are also a lot of people who don't think like me. So trying to compare yourself to other people and say, well, so-and-so has this, so-and-so has that. Why do I have this? Why do I have that? How does this work for them? Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't really matter. So we have to think about that. We have to think about, does comparing yourself to other people actually help you or hinder the process when you're trying to reach a goal? Okay. For me, it hinders it. It makes it worse sometimes. Because I spend a lot of time trying to think of why other people get the things that they get, why they do the things that they do. And then it just kind of, I'm a different person. I'm myself. I do what I do. So thinking about self-comparison and how people do things doesn't really help you. What you have to realize is that you are different in every way. We talked about, I've talked about this before on previous podcasts where people are different, right? Everyone is different. And I think it's funny sometimes, and this is where I think about it. This is weird. Like, I got a comment the other day on YouTube, this guy is hot, right? And so when you hear something like that, and like you get those comments a lot, but that could come from anyone. Someone could call you hot. Someone could say you're good looking. Someone could say you're ugly. Someone could say something about you. And then you start thinking about, well, what about this? And what about that? And how could they call me this when I've got this? Like, you can start just like tearing yourself apart down to the little things. Like, as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking about how I would compare myself to someone else my age. Look at all the gray hair in my beard. Like, every year it gets more and more gray. Now that's a normal thing, right? Other people have gray hair in their beard, but does that make them look old? Other people have moles on their face. Other people have, like, and I'm looking at myself, I'm sorry, a big nose. Like, these are things, these are things that I think about. These are things that and you can say whatever you want. I'm not looking for compliments. I'm just saying, like, these are things that I think about every single day. When someone says something about me, like, your instant thing that you want to do is go straight to talking bad about yourself, talking about comparing yourself to someone else, thinking about all those things. And then it's like, it's just kind of detrimental to you, right? But every single one of us is different. So you cannot compare that. You have a different thought when you see different things. I like the color red. Some people may get disgusted by the color red. I like the color black. That's why this is black and red back here, right? If you look in front of me, there's orange and black. You don't have to like that color. You don't have to like what I like. You don't have to like me. You don't have to have the same thoughts as me. And that's kind of where that goes. You attract the people that like the things that you like the way that you talk. Sometimes, and then you piss the people off that don't. So you're comparing yourself and you're trying to think, like, I've gotten to this with this podcasting world one time, or a lot of times. It's like, this is a huge comparison right here. Okay. So like, I'm not even close to what Joe Rogan does, but like, why is he so popular? Why does Travis Kelce and his brother start a podcast and have millions of downloads and views and things like that? And I've been doing this for 4.5 years and I don't get the same, people looking at me. Why? What's the deal? Well, how come? I mean, the obvious answer is we know why, right? But it's like, what did they do that was different than what I'm doing? And like podcasts about motivation, they don't get they don't attract the same group of people because there's people who want to listen to like true crime. Not everyone is into self-improvement. Not everyone is trying to make themselves better every single day. Some people are happy where they're at. Some people just want to be where they are. So when we sit there and we compare ourselves to those other people, all these doubts in your mind come and you start to wonder, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing what I should be doing? And what I found with this, what I really like about this is that it doesn't really matter. It's going to catch the people when it needs to catch people. And that's kind of what Lindsay said. There is a plan, right? We have this plan. This goes back to faith. Like if you have faith in what's going on, no matter if it's faith in God or whatever it is, you will know that there is a plan and that things happen for a reason. And whatever you're going through at that time is going to help you to reach that goal. Sometimes it's really hard to find the reason why that's happening, right? Sometimes it's really tough to understand the lesson in the situation when it's happening, but there is a lesson. And that's where I'm like right now with everything that I'm going through, trying to figure out what's the lesson? What have I done? What can I do? How can I make it different? And then going back to a conversation we had last week about patience, having the patience to understand that everything that is going on because you need it, because there's an understanding that why do you need it? Because that's the other thing. It's like, why? So you compare yourself to other people, and we'll talk about some quotes here too in a minute, but comparing yourself to other people never gets you where you want to go. How did that work for so-and-so? How did it work for you? And you've got to reflect, and that's what this is, a reflection into why things are not working. You guys don't know this, or you do know that I was a teacher, but one year, and some of you may or may, depending on how long you've been, know that I was a PE teacher and I was a baseball coach and a football coach. So I coached sports and I taught PE. And one of the things that I would do would be, God, now I got to figure out where I'm going. Now I got to figure out where I was going with that one, because the self-comparison, but that's what it was. Okay, so reflection, right? We talk about these reflections. So I taught 1 year because I wanted to be a PE teacher at a high school, right? So the first 2 years was in middle school. When I got my teaching degree, I said, I'm not going to teach at a middle school. I'm not going to teach at an elementary, or I'm not going to teach at a middle school. I'll teach high school or elementary, and I'll be okay with whatever that is. And guess what happened? The lesson was, you're going to teach middle school PE. You didn't want to, so now you get to figure that out. Well, I did that, and then I decided, well, there was this other job coming open at a high school. There may be a PE spot in a couple of years, but I could take a job out of class, teach that job, or teach that class, which was actually in a classroom. I hated being in a classroom because I had to teach a health class. I was in a classroom. I hated health, or just being in a classroom, period. Because who wants to teach a bunch of kids about things that middle school kids, like, you can only imagine what they're going through. So I taught this class out of class. It was senior and junior project, where you're going through and you're telling kids about careers and things like that, and blah, 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 blah. Well, one of the things they had to do was they had to make this portfolio where they had to write a reflection on some of their work and talk about what they learned from the project, what they would change, what they could have done differently, blah, 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 blah. Kids hated it. Kids hated writing reflections. Kids hated reflecting on the things that would make them better. They couldn't stand it. They couldn't stand writing these reflections. And I came to realize that reflecting on what I did was very good, because it allowed me to make changes and be better at what I was doing. So anyway, that's a long, boring story about reflection. But you're comparing what you did to what you could have done, and how could you make it better? And in that mindset that I have, where I'm trying to be better every single day than I was the day before, this is where it becomes a monotonous thing. And so reflecting is very important in my life. And I just didn't know how to convey that to them, about how to be better yesterday, or to whatever you're doing to be better. And it's not the lesson of like, I hated this project. This was a science project. I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it. It drives me crazy that I have to write about it. Well, writing about it makes you think about it, makes you change it, and if you didn't like science, it relates to other things. It goes back to you'll never use a calculator. Well, if you don't, or you'll never do this math because you'll always have a calculator. Well, if you don't know the basics of how to use that calculator, then you're never going to get the answers that you're looking for. So, this is a good one. This is unknown. This quote here, at first I looked at it and I was kind of like, whatever. It's by unknown. But don't compare yourself to others. There is no comparison between the sun and the moon. They shine when it's their time. They shine when it's their time. Isn't that crazy? If you think about that, like the moon comes up when it needs to, the sun comes up when it needs to. What does it do for you? You know, if you think about the sun, it's up and it's time to work. When the moon is up, it's time to rest, right? Like, it helps you wind down. It helps you get where you need to go. That's a pretty good one. Let's see here. I can really relate to this. I don't know who this lady is named. Eugenia Hurley or something like that. Weird. I can't. I should ask for pronunciations of these, but I'm looking at it. Comparison is the most poisonous. What's up, Lindsay? We're talking about one of your posts right now. Lindsay's over on TikTok. We're going live on YouTube, but we're talking about comparison. I saw a post of yours this morning. It was very moving. So thank you. Appreciate it. The tip of a neighbor's iceberg looks very nice. Roy A. Nagasap. The tip of a neighbor's iceberg. So like when you're looking over at what's going on at the neighbor's house and you're like, oh man, like their house is painted really nice. They got some Christmas lights up. I don't like Christmas lights. I don't put them up. It's just too much work, but my kids love it. So you got to do it anyway. But you're looking at that. Everyone else the grass is always greener in someone else's yard, right? Well, it's sometimes greener in the other person's yard because they do a little bit more work than you, right? Eugenia, I didn't say this was a different one. I missed number 3 because I got distracted. But comparison is the most poisonous element in the human heart because it destroys ingenuity and robs peace and joy. Okay? And that's what I hate about comparing yourself to others, because you start to think about it, what happens, right? You start comparing yourself to what other people have, and then you start to get jealous in your heart, and you start to wonder what they did or why they did it or how they did it, and it starts to make you mad because you start to think, well, I do more than them, or I do this, or I do that, when in reality, you don't really know what they do. You just see it. You just see the end result, and that's what's funny about like podcasting and things like that is like I sit there and I look at, like we talked about, the very high level comparison of myself to Joe Rogan, which there is no real comparison because you think about all the things that Joe Rogan does, but you just see Joe Rogan doing the podcast. You don't see all the background work you do. It's crazy because if you think about it, he has been around for a very long time. And I bet you can't remember the first time you saw Joe Rogan, but I can remember the first time that I saw him, and he was on Fear Factor. He was just a show host of this show where people are eating bugs and things like that. That's the challenge, right? So he did that. But why did he do that? He did that because he had a goal of wanting to do all these other things. He does so many different things that I don't do. So I cannot compare myself to him because my situation is not the same as his. He's done the work in the background, but people don't see that unless you go to look for it. You don't really understand. Those people that you see who are killing it have done the work in the background. They have done the things that they need to do to get there. Okay? So it's a poisonous element. You can allow those things to just get worse. That's what we were just talking about, the grass greener in someone else's yard, right? This one's kind of funny. We'll talk about this in a second here, but Nikki was talking about, well, I got work before the sun comes up. I'm with you. I understand. I think it's going to be even worse because it's super dark, and it's going to be dark for a while because they want more daylight because of the stupid daylight savings time. How many of you are bugged by daylight savings time? Drives me nuts. They passed something that said that there was going to be no more daylight savings time. But I have not. I think it's supposed to be, supposedly they passed that and it's supposed to stay this way. I think this year is the year, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to keep doing it. Stupid daylight savings time. Okay, so I told you the grass is always greener in someone else's yard, right? Like, so you're sitting there in your yard and the grass is always green. I can guarantee you, this is going to sound really rude, but the grass is always greener in my yard because I do the work to make it greener. But some people are like, why is your lawn so green? And it's like, well, you got to fertilize, you got to mow, you got to edge, you got to do all those things to make that thing look pretty. And if you don't do that work, if you're just going out there and just mowing and you don't care about your grass, it's not going to be green. But sometimes the grass is always greener on the other side because it's fake. Sometimes people use that. I had to laugh at that one. It's not real grass, right? Like you can put on that facade. Just because people look good and feel good look good doesn't always mean that they feel good. Okay. You look at someone who's like well dressed, got a nice haircut, really groomed, really well, all that stuff. Sometimes they are the most unhappy people you know. What is up, Joe, over on YouTube, Facebook, YouTube? We got this thing streaming all over the place, except for TikTok won't allow me to stream it on Restream, so that's annoying. But you may look like the part, and you may seem like everything is all good, but the reality is that it's not that great. It's not that great for them. They can look really good on the outside, but on the inside they could feel like trash. And that is a very crazy, very tough thing to deal with. And that's why you can't compare yourself to someone else. You know, you may look better than them, or they may look better than you, but it doesn't mean that you feel good on the inside. That's like money, right? Like people look out and they see like that guy's driving around a Mercedes. Does that mean that they can actually afford the Mercedes? No, they're just driving it around. I hate Mercedes, by the way. I don't really necessarily mean that, but I'm just like, these are the things that we think of. Like when we see successful people, we think of well-dressed, well put together, driving nice cars, blah, blah, blah. But it could be that person. Someone I interviewed, it was funny because he wears the same thing every single day. Well, why do you wear the same thing every day? Well, I don't have to, it's one less thing I have to think about. I have 10 black shirts, 10 pairs of blue pants, 10 pairs of white socks, 10 pairs of the same shoe. I don't have to decide what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go do it. Okay. So that's it. Like you could look, Nikki said sad. Like you could look really happy on the outside, but really be a sad person. All right. Sorry, I had to laugh at this one because it's just some of these things are just out there. These quotes that I'm looking at, some of them are just kind of out there. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. That it is stupid. Oh, fish, that's kind of stupid, right? Because fish swim in the water. All right, this is probably the ender here. I really like this one. I'm going to give you two because the second one I just read, I really like too. This is unknown. Every minute you spend wishing you had someone else's life is a minute you spent wasting yours. That's pretty deep, right? That's pretty deep. You think about that. Think about comparing yourself to other people, right? Think about how you're spending that time giving the power to something other than bettering your own life, right? You're comparing yourself to someone else. You're wasting your time on that. Okay? Don't spend your time looking at what other people have because you have the time to make your life better. That's a tough one. I have to tell you, a lot of these things, like I said, I think about this stuff every single day, and I think about how I lose sleep over dumb shit, right? This last couple of weeks has been really stressful for me, and I'm losing sleep over stupid stuff that I could just, try and let go and figure out a way. And that's what I'm doing. It's taking time and having the patience and all these things that we've been talking about on these morning coffees, trying to figure out how to make things work, right? Letting go of things. But you spend a lot of time like, why? And it shouldn't be why, it should be how. It should be what can you do to fix the situation? What can you do to make it better? Not why. Why is this happening to me? Not feeling that way, okay? And this is the last one we're going to talk about. My coffee's almost gone. I'm going to need another cup when I get inside. Hopefully there's enough creamer because we're almost out. We got to go to the store. This one's kind of a truth bomb right here, okay? Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. All through my life, I tried to be myself. I tried to be something that I was, not what someone else was. And that is something that has really rolled over, that has really been a part of what is going on for me. Okay, I've always marched to my own tune. I've always been the person who went against the grain. Now, no one ever said any of this stuff that we're talking about is easy, right? But you have to put in the work. And that's where this all kind of ties in, right? Comparing yourself to others and not being your own person and not trying to do the things that you need to do, will always result in a result. It will result in a result. It will result in a result. It will always come with the result of unhappiness. Okay? So remember that today. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Think about the things that you have. Wendell in the house over on Facebook. That's for everyone. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. It's great. Just remember that today. Remember that no matter what, you can glean information from other people, but the choice is yours to be who you are. You don't need to be who those other people are. You don't have to put on this facade that other people want you to be this or that. Be you. Be you. So that's it. I want to say thanks to Lindsay for the inspiration this morning for this morning's morning coffee. Like I was talking about earlier, I don't know how many more interviews I'm going to do. I will do them, and they just will be something separate from that. This is going to be kind of the new thing for me where I do this every day as long as I'm able to. Sometimes things get in the way. Sometimes my sun is up. My wife has to work. I got to take care of that stuff. But I look forward to pushing these out daily. They're going to be unedited. They're just going to go on the podcast platform. They're going to go live. We're going to push out some clips from this stuff. It's not going to be every single episode, but is what it is. If you have topics or things for me to talk about, you can email them to me, wes@westankersley.com. If you would like to join the Patreon, you can do that for as little as $3 a month. Support the show. Help me to grow it. Help me to get some of this stuff and cameras and microphones and all that stuff to keep this going, because it is a hobby. It makes no money. And every little bit helps me to keep pushing it. And it is what I enjoy doing, but it doesn't pay the bills. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.